Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions and founder of Brave Kids Books, which is what we're here to talk about today. We have a mission around here to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are two of the most amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out. You guys, it's called Brave Kids, Short Stories to Inspire Our Future World Changers. Before I introduce Heidi and Shelley to you today, I want to say a huge thank you to our lead author and the publishing director of Brave Kids Books, Miss KJ Kashula. Kelly, thank you so much for the idea of getting these children's authors together, and for everything you do for Brave Healer Productions and Brave Kids Books. You guys, Kelly is the most amazing illustrator, storyteller, and she has such a beautiful, big passion for this topic, this book, and everything. So first, thanks go to you, Kelly. So I have a couple of amazing author experts with me today. Heidi McAlpine is the owner of Well Alignment on Long Island, New York. She's a pediatric and mental health occupational therapist, educator, poet, author, podcaster. You are a multi-potentialite, Heidi, like most of my authors. And she provides education and support to families, children, and adults. Dr. Shelley Astroff is with us, and she loves to make learning fun using meditation, yoga, and insightful stories. So ladies, thank you both so much. Thank you both for saying yes to this project and for really just stepping up with your energy and intention to help our kids be brave. I'm so grateful to be here with you both today. Heidi, let's start this off with you. Tell us about the beautiful story you shared in Brave Kids.
Sure. I am chapter 22, and it's called The Monkey Brain Survival Guide, How to Cope with Sensory Overload. Now, everyone may not understand what sensory overload is, but my story is about a 10-year-old boy named Shep who is challenged by his environment. He doesn't know how to process the information in a smooth and organized manner in order to make sense of what's coming in. So through the help and the support and compassion of his community, which includes his occupational therapist, his mom, his family members, and his best friend, he's able to overcome his challenges and barriers in order to do the things that he loves, needs, and wants to do. And it talks about his adventure going on vacation and then sharing that adventure in the classroom. So it's about compassion.
I was very excited that you decided to bring this topic into the book. And I hope that our viewers with those challenges will read it, because there's nuggets, of course, for all of our kids, but there's such huge nuggets in your chapter for the adults. Will you talk about that a little bit more?
Definitely. Well, it's how do we support? How do we help ourselves, caregivers, and children with these challenges who are neurodiverse and different, and they don't understand it? So providing resources such as this storybook to read to so families can read to children with challenges and understand and become more compassionate and more empowered through the tools that are presented within that chapter.
Yeah, there's really some big and magical perspective. I call them these golden nuggets that you all are dropping throughout your chapters. Heidi, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Shelley, tell us about your beautiful story.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm chapter 7, Kesari, the lion who thought he was a sheep. And what happens is a strange twist of fate. A little lion cub is adopted by a sheep, and he grows up, and that's who he believes that he is. So he has all these challenges because he tries hard, but he's really not a very good sheep. And then it's determined that he's got these personality disorders because he's got physical deformities. You know, they tease him because he only has hair around his head. his hooves are all wrong. They're all pointy and funny looking. And so it makes him it makes him socially challenged. And so nobody wants to play with him anymore because he's very strong and he tries hard and he's very good natured, but he just can't do it. And so he gets very upset and depressed, and he just starts staying up late at night, and then he sneaks out and he goes into the woods and he finds out that he's got really good night vision. He can hear really well, and he's not afraid to be alone. He's finding out that he's not very sheep-like at all. And then he comes across a lion, and he's not afraid, and he should be. And he's fascinated, and he has another encounter with a lion who teaches him who he really is. He brings him to a pond and he says, "Look in the pond and see who you are." And he said, "What do you see?" And Kesari says, "I see two lions." And he said, "I see you and another lion." And he said, "No, the other lion is you. That's your reflection." And so he is told by the head lion that in order to shake off his weakness, his personality disorders, his bleating sheepishness, he has to roar. And so he learns to channel all his energy and roar, and transforms himself into that confidence and majesty and greatness that he really is. And then I added a little part at the end where now there's a new king of the mountains. And every time he'd watch his former flock, he would smile, and he knows that inside the heart of every sheep lives the heart of a lion. And one day when they're ready, he'll teach them to roar.
I love listening to you tell about that story. I especially love that even just I can feel your delight in this, just the funny parts of that, and you're helping me have the visual of it, which I love the most. Why did you decide to choose this topic? Any personal reason?
I think that in many ways I was a lion living with a lot of sheep. And one day I found out that there actually wasn't anything wrong with me. I was just fine. I just didn't know that I was fine. And I think there are so many people who just don't fit in the shoes that they're given. And
Yeah.
I've watched it with children that I've taught. I've watched it with my son. There are these awkward times. And then if you let them be who they are, because they're just fine. I would think, like, what if Mozart's father was a baker? And Mozart would just be a really lousy baker.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I love the topic. And thank you for bringing that to the book. And thanks to both of you for being here. Thanks, gosh, thanks for saying yes to this, and then for being willing to step in with your important topics and really with your lovely, amazing passion, both of you. Shelley, I'm going to stick with you for this next question that I'll come around to Heidi with in a minute. But why does helping kids be brave matter to you? I mean, we could help them be a lot of things, but why be brave?
I think it starts with taking your first step. And I think it's very, very brave to take your first step. Your second step is easy, but your first step is hard. And that takes all your strength and all your courage, because that's what's unknown. And that's where you need your confidence and you need your support system. And I just feel that offering that first step allows endless possibilities for people to discover, however young and old they are. who they are and what they actually want to do and be with their life.
It's a great point. No matter how old you are, this book is so full of stories that all of the parents, grandparents, mentors, caregivers, you all are going to enjoy these stories so much. And hopefully we help you help your kids. Heidi, how about you? Why does helping kids be brave matter to you?
That's such a loaded question, and I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. Um, through family challenges, children that have had challenges, and listening and watching the hopelessness and the fear that comes, like with a parent who doesn't have control of a situation, like a child who's been diagnosed with something. And now what? So how do we get them out of that state of fight or flight or freeze? Especially during these times, I think it's so important to have this book out with the violence that's going on and the choices that people are making and suicide and everything. There's so much need in the community and in the world that I feel it's important to give people hope and just a little piece of compassion so that they know they're not alone, and an understanding. I think that a lot of people don't reach out because they don't feel understood or they don't want to be judged. So as a yoga therapist, it's about non-judgment and respecting where someone is, the space that they're in, and allowing them to grow within that space by giving them tools. So as an occupational therapist, I worked in early intervention school systems all the way up to high school. And now I'm working in the community with all different ages. And I see that fear that sets in. And if I can give them a little glimmer of hope with a tool, such as the one that's provided within the book, in a fun and easy and effective way where they see those changes, then I've made a difference. I became an agent of change to help someone be brave and to move forward with those tools. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so beautifully. Thank you. I kind of bask in both of y'all's experience and wisdom when I listen to you. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's stick with you, Heidi, for a minute on this next one. And this topic is so juicy. We could be here for days talking about any one of the questions, especially that bravery question. But what do you want? What's that one thing you want parents and caregivers to know about how they can help their kids grow to be awesome adults? What's one thing you think is important?
Being within the space of that child and listening to learn, listening to lead, reaching out to other people. I think that's hard when you're in that space, but really reaching out, researching, and gaining insight into what could or could not work. It's all a guessing game because everyone's different and unique in their own way. But there's so many tools that are out there. This book is just a fun way to learn these tools, and there's a lot of different tools in this book that I love. There's a lot of different things that may or may not work, but just making that first step that Shelley had mentioned to make a change is important. So I think just being in the space, understanding the needs of that child, but also what I think is important is understanding their strengths. It's easy to see the disability or the challenge, but to look at them and say, okay, what are they able to do? What are their interests? What do they love to do? Just like how you started this book, what are you interested in? What do you want to be doing? So I think it's the same thing as a caregiver, whether the caregiver is working with a child or an older person with Alzheimer's. So I think it's really just stepping back and being in their space, understanding who they are as a person. Shelley mentioned that with the sheep, thinking he's something else, but he's really inside. He really is that sheep with those strengths that will carry him through. He just has to get past those barriers. So how do we help people get past barriers with utilizing their strengths? And like that, I say poetry. I am a poet. You're a poet. I think writing things, journaling. If they're great at writing, journal your feelings, journal your challenges, and then we have somewhere to start. You're channeling that energy, and we can utilize that to get past the barriers.
Wow, that's a lot. I really want to back up to the very first thing you said for a minute, and that was be a good listener. And I'm just pausing there for a moment for our listeners, for our viewers, that sometimes I think for an adult, a busy adult who's dealing with life and their own kids, and especially kids with needs that go beyond, it's hard to be patient and listen. It's hard some days, but I think I know with my own kids, I definitely know with my own kids, when I just paused my rush inside of me and just, you know what, let me just hear what they're saying and see if I can hear with my whole body, in full body presence, right? I think that's so important. Shelley, how about you with this one? What do you want parents and caregivers to know about how they can help their kids be awesome adults? What's that one thing that matters to you about that?
Yeah, first off, I want to say that, Heidi, you're absolutely brilliant. I have been watching all the podcasts, and I feel like I'm in this amazing company. So thank you so much. But I like to take the point of view that if every parent, teacher looks at the child in front of them and sees this amazing treasure, that they have to find out what is that amazingness that is who they are. What is it that makes them so amazing? And then they start to explore. Like, I can remember trying things like when I was teaching, I put out many different things, music and art and math, and you see where they gravitate towards. And then you try to encourage where they're good and give them all the exposure. But I think there's a lot of listening and a lot of trust that needs to be developed. But if you start by looking at the child as being just the most amazing treasure that you're going to unwrap, and you're going to polish it and make it shine, I think everything after that comes from within, and you just are led by what you're finding.
I love that. I love looking at all people that way, even my dogs. But I love looking at all ages of people that way, and what a brilliant, beautiful awareness. What that being in front of you is a treasure, right? And finding those pieces, letting that be priority and first, it's just such a beautiful way to think. I love that, Shelley. Thank you. So, Shelley, I'm going to hang out with you for a minute on this next huge question. Just warning you gals, this one is big. It's big potatoes. I mean, this whole topic to me is a big deal. It feels like we are taking on that responsibility for our kids' future. And I think we all need a little kudos for being willing to do that. It's huge. But this generation of kids is faced with a world that is much different than the one their parents and grandparents grew up in. Things can feel so overwhelming and scary at times, both for kids and the adults in their lives, So, Shelley, what matters the most right now to you in terms of shaping this future for our kids?
I feel that if you can instill that sense of confidence, security, the knowledge of their own sense of brilliance of who they are is already amazing. And then they relax into that discovery of what's next, because they can trust themselves and they can trust their surroundings to make their life worthwhile for their own self. And when they're in that situation where they can do that for their own self, that will always include everyone else, because they'll know that their whole environment is themselves and it will be included. And I think just giving them that confidence, that first step, that bravery, that ability to let them be who they are, let them explore their amazingness and applaud them, and obviously guide them, but they can't make a step unless they feel the confidence, and just teach them to roar, because they can.
Yes, they can. I like what you said. You had me at then they can relax, because they think there's just so much pressure to be and do and live up to expectations. So I really liked, I could feel that one. It would help them relax to guide them in that way.
Because what if they were only going to please themselves and they didn't think that their decision was so they get somebody else's candy, smile, their pencil? What if they were going to do it because they thought it was amazing?
What if?
What if?
I love that. Yeah, what if? Good question. Thank you, Shelley. Heidi, what about this for you, this big ass question? What matters the most to you right now in terms of shaping this future for our kids?
Shelley brought up some great points, and it all comes to intrinsically being motivated. As a society, we've become externally motivated. I'm going to work to get this car. I'm going to work to get this house. I'm going to work to provide for my family. I'm going to work. How about doing it because it feels right? It makes me feel good. It centers me when I feel good. I feel like a productive person in society because I feel good, and the energy that I have as a result of feeling good from my choices expands to everyone else. Everyone else will feel that energy, like this book. We're all doing it for the right reasons, to get out there and expand this energy, give people tools to make a difference, because kids matter, because individuals matter, no matter who they are, what their challenges are, what they've been born with, they matter. And because they matter, they're going to be their own agent of change. And as a result of that confidence, they help make changes within the world. And I started a mental health community, part of a mental health community, advising kids 15 to 29 to be agents of change for this movement called Listen to Lead. And they are their own think tank. I don't do anything unless they need advice, but they become their own think tank, making changes within the communities to help with the mental health crisis. So it's listening, it's leading by feeling confident and that you matter and what you have to say has significance.
I love that. I love that you said kids 15 to 29. You captured my 23-year-old and my 20-year-old in there, which is really great because I still think of them as kids. But also, they do need to have those opportunities, all of the ones you just mentioned. That's brilliant. Heidi and Shelley, thank you so much for what you do in the world. Thank you for being here to share it with everyone. Listeners, if you heard something today that made you curious or gave you the goosebumps or you were resonating with, drop down into the show notes, because I have these ladies' websites there, and they are up to some awesomeness in the world, as you can hear. These are much more than books and groups of people coming together for a book. This is a community of generous, heart-centered, wise, experienced, expert authors who are there for you for that next step and the answer to your next question. So come on down and explore their websites, see what they're up to, because it is a lot and amazing. And of course, for all of you, you're invited to our book launch party. We're going to be joining with all of the Brave Kids authors on May 6th at 11 Eastern. And you can find the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page with Zoom info down below as well. If you happen to be listening after May 6th to this interview, well, that means you need to head over to Amazon because you can get your copy of the book that we are all so excited about to come out. And lastly, today, everybody, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.